Where'd it go, Michelle? Welcome to End Credits. I'm Corey Tibbetts.
And I'm Miles Rourke.
And this is the podcast that talks to people working behind the scenes in the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
We can't even get our own behind the scenes working today.
That's okay.
We have a return guest who's joined us for a live stream. We have Nima Fakhrara, who is a composer on many different things. And I don't even have my notes in front of me right now, but I know he's recently worked on something with Wes Craven.
Yeah.
How are you tonight, Nima?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, thanks for coming back. So you've been crazy busy. I don't even know half the stuff you've been working on. Your publicist sent me a giant list, and I just saw Wes Craven, and I'm like, yeah, bring it back.
And he didn't send me the list.
Oh wow! No, it's been a crazy year, and we're not even halfway through it. But it's been a fun little adventure this past year. Yeah, I did. I worked on a project with the late Wes Craven. Which was a fun little project called The Girl in the Photograph, that I was fortunate enough to be able to kind of be part of it through my really good friend Nick Simon, who I worked with on the movie Removal a while back. So, and then he wrote The Pyramid as well. So I was just like one of those things that we kind of just were able to work with together again.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
So what was... There was like an album of Wes Craven music or something you were working on as well, or?
No.
No?
Was I supposed to? I don't know. No, I don't. I know there's an album of Wes Craven's music coming out. Not that I know that I don't know if my music is in it. I hope it is. I don't know.
Like I said, I don't have my notes. we got told you were on the call while we were actually out of our chairs.
Yeah.
Hop back in. I'm like, I'm not ready. So this would be even less professional than the last time you were on.
Although it looks pretty professional.
It looks professional. Oh, this is going to be the Crack Up Corey show.
Yeah.
The whole time. All right. Well, what else are you working on now? Like, I think it's been 2 years since we talked to you.
Yeah, it's been a while. I mean, I think last time we talked about The Signal.
Yes.
So yeah, since then I've been doing a lot of projects. Actually, I worked on a video game called 1979, and then The Girl in the Photograph. It's one of those things that we're very excited about. 1979 was a video game that I worked on. And then did Resident Evil. I don't know if we talked about that last time, but it's been a very busy year. Since then, I moved into a new studio where I have a scoring stage and everything like that. So it's been a little fun adventure of just construction with projects and just live stuff. So it's been fun. It's been really great.
What is this live thing you were, before we started, you were talking about doing
sure.
1979 live?
Yeah, it's so the video game is basically 1979 revolution, basically based on the Iranian Revolution that happened in 1979.
So
There's
it's
like
very different than that 1849 video game. The 19.
Yeah. The iOS release is actually on Thursday, so we're actually having a release party in Los Angeles downtown, and we decided by my curiosity and my stupidity to do a live show. So it's been a kind of a mayhem, and
We feel your pain.
It's been one of those things trying to figure out how to do a live score of just a lot of synthesized, literally a lot of analog synths. How do you do a live sound and how do you do a live score? So it's been a little fun adventure that we've been kind of just doing a lot of rehearsals out of my studio and everything like that. So it's been fun.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun. And actually, it's like my band actually we actually rehearse in a music store,
Oh,
and it's like walking by this keyboard display and they have all this stuff, and it's like, our drummer asked our guitar player, it's like, what's all this stuff? And it's like Pat's like, well, it's analog synth stuff. It's like it's all making this big comeback, all this stuff from the 70s, and it's like all patch bays and everything. And it's like I remember those things from way back when, and it's like, and I was kind of like, really? That's like, it's like, yeah, they're just selling like hotcakes these days.
yeah, everybody's buying them like crazy, and it's like for me, I've had them sitting in a storage for a long time, and pulling them out and retuning them, just resoldering a lot of it's like for me, it's just like I'm like I don't want to go through this. They're not in tune ever. They're like little kids, and you just got to make sure that they're always fed and they're just ready to go. So they're moody as hell, and it's just but we love them. I love the sound of them, and I've been fortunate enough to be able to use a lot of them. I mean, even on the Signal, I used a ton of them. But they're going crazy, and there's new ones coming out all the time. Moog just kind of released a bunch of reissues, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, a guy actually used to play with, like a decade and a half ago. It's like his father were really good friends with Bob Moog.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So apparently, he had been over to the Moog's place for dinners and.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
that's a fun little kind of thing to just be part of. I mean, I know that Hans was lucky enough when he actually bought all his little gadgets and his patch bays and stuff. He bought it by weight. So just literally, that's the way you got to do it. You just got to roll up to the warehouse and be like, just throw them in. That's the way you got to buy those things.
I'm here for 3 tons of keyboards.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Basically.
So you mentioned Resident Evil.
Sure.
Film or video game?
The video game. They don't let me touch the movie yet, but
Might be a good thing given.
it's an interesting thing. I mean, I've been a fan of the franchise, but lately they haven't been making a good movie out of it. But it's an interesting franchise. I mean, yeah, I was part of the video game. It was Resident Evil Revelation. I basically got called to actually become the music producer on it, and I built a lot of instruments for it. Just like kind of like the Signal that we went through, and I came on. I was one of the few non-Japanese composers to be involved in that project.
Wow.
They usually don't hire non-Japanese people because it's all done in Japan, and a lot of NDAs have to go through. So even for us, it took maybe about a year and a half for NDAs to go through before I was even kind of touched that project.
Wow.
Yeah, Japan's one of those touchy places where, they really like to keep everything at home.
Which is a good thing. I mean, their projects speak for themselves, and they're pretty amazing on what they do sometimes. I mean, they're good. They're good stuff when they come out, when they do a good job at it.
Well, I mean, it's got to be an honor to even be considered to make music for a Japanese game, especially one as big as Resident Evil. Then.
Oh, of course. It's really funny because like I grew up playing that video game on a PC back in the day, and it's like it used to scare the shit out of me, and I was just like, all right, yeah, let's do this again. And once I was approached for it, I was like, I have so many ideas for it. Let me just kind of take a crack at it and just do whatever the hell I want to do. And that's what they basically allowed me to do, which was amazing, and which was awesome.
All right, so you're saying you built some instruments for it? I mean,
Yep.
Last time we saw some pretty cool instruments that you had built. What did you build this time?
Yeah, for Resident Evil, I built something called an Ice Queen. Basically, it's these two cylinders of aluminum that are on top of each other, and one of them is basically the resonator of the above, and you play with dried ice. So you put dried ice under one cylinder, and it actually kind of just using the cylinder itself, it shakes the top. cylinder, if you will. And you can put any instruments on the bottom one. And so with that, it takes the resonations of many of them and just kind of plays around with it. It's a pretty big kind of, it's probably like 6 foot tall, 6 foot wide kind of thing.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
That was one. That was one hell of a kind of an adventure that I was trying to kind of do. Besides that, I messed around with a lot of water, and what would water be kind of psychoacoustically kind of be recorded and how you would actually do that. So that was a fun adventure, trying to figure that out.
How did you do that?
Well, it was. It was a lot of bowls. I basically kind of took a lot of glass bowls and then attached a lot of psychoacoustic microphones to it, and then just messed around with different objects inside of it, different marbles, dried ice, magnets, kind of like a lot of different things that would actually kind of shake underground and underwater, and just kind of put a microphone inside water and see if it is even able to kind of capture any noise. But yeah, it was. I mean, the game itself calls for it. The game itself is a very much of a. There's a lot of rust. There's a lot of aluminum. There's a lot of water. There's a lot of cool little things. So it was just fun to be able to mess around with that.
That's amazing.
See, now it seems like you'd be a shoe-in for doing some, a steampunk type of game. Start doing things with steam.
Yep.
Because
there's
a buddy of mine. He's from Toronto, and he's more of a prop guy, but he's heavily involved in the steampunk genre up here in Canada. And I think at one of the steampunk expos that they had, he actually had like this steam-powered wind instrument, which was it was something like 15 feet long, and it was quite cool.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, there's actually a lot of people are kind of going that route of trying to figure out what instruments, can be made. We haven't had new instruments made in a long, long time. I mean, it's always been the violins, violas, and stuff like that. But and everybody's been modifying those throughout the years, but no one has actually gone the route of actually making new instruments. Mm-hmm. So, and it takes a lot of work. You got to know the physics, you got to know acoustics, you got to know how to actually make them and build them throughout.
So, where did your love of building instruments come from?
I grew up playing Persian classical music. I grew up playing the dulcimer. Actually, that was my first instrument. And within the Persian classical music world, you're not allowed to not allowed, I wouldn't like to say that, but the world itself doesn't have any bass tones. So I modified a lot of instruments in order for me to be able to kind of represent that bass tonality. So and then once I did that, back in school, one of the things that I actually studied was music anthropology and figuring out where instruments came from. And one thing led to another. I was just like, I found a welder that could help me out, and then I just started kind of working around a lot of Harry Partch's instruments, rebuilding those through his schematics. And once that was made, I just went crazy.
Wow. If we have anybody in the chat room who wants to ask Nima any questions about the work that he's done, feel free to hop in and ask away, and we'll read your questions off to him.
Yeah. There it is.
There's nothing there.
I know there's nothing there.
That's just the producer telling people to...
Yes.
Jesus.
Yeah, see, this is what happens when we do back-to-back.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, we've been sitting here for what, an hour and a half now?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. You made me lose my train of thought, and I can't edit this out now. Bugger. All right, well, we got your breaking in story when we did the audio version, but give us the live video version of how you got into composing in the first place.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, as I said, I grew up playing Persian classical music, and then moved to Washington D.C. And then I was very interested in kind of Western music, and then moved to LA. One thing led to another. I started working for a lot of different composers. At school, I wanted to be actually a performer. I wanted to be an actual orchestral musician. I grew up playing percussion, so started working for a lot of different composers, messed around with a lot of scores, and saw that they actually use Middle Eastern instruments. And then here we are now. Just basically, I not that I stumbled on it, but it was more or less just I've always been a fan of scores, and was able to just be able to be involved on a lot of different short films before anything else.
That's cool. I mean, it's got to be nice that you can actually bring some authenticity to movie music where when, you know, in the 80s when they do a Middle Eastern score, it was always the exact same
Sure. I
thing
mean,
over and over again.
even nowadays, it's always the same thing. Anytime you're all of a sudden, quote unquote, in Middle East,
It's
the
bow, bow,
cliche,
bow, bow.
yeah, the cliche instruments come out, and that's one of the things. I mean, we get back to 1979. One of the important things was for me, because I grew up in Iran and we were talking about the revolution. It was that. I wanted to be as true to that nature as possible. So I pulled in all the instruments that I've always played back in the day, and nothing from quote unquote Middle East. It was all Iranian instruments, and that's it's unfortunate when I actually kind of watch any movie and all of a sudden we're in like Saudi Arabia and an Armenian duduk comes out, and I'm just like, come on, guys, you could have done this better. But it's what it is.
So what are some Iranian instruments?
Sure. Well, there's this thing called a santur, which is a hammer dulcimer, just very similar to a hammer dulcimer. We have a whole entire guitar family, kind of called a setar, not the sitar of India, but setar. Then there's a thing called tar, which is these. They're all very much similar to guitars. You play them with a pick or your fingernails, and that's. But it gives you very cool little sounds that you're able to kind of mess around with.
I don't know. My producer's saying rebab.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe a rabab.
Oh, rabab.
Ah,
See,
Yeah.
you can just say it in my ear.
Yeah, a rabab. A rabab is actually an Afghani instrument. It's not fully Iranian. The people of Iran have actually taken it in, and we play it. I mean, just like the oud, which is an Arabic instrument, and we've kind of modified it in order for us to be able to kind of take in that bass tonality as we talked about in the earlier.
well, our producer says he took a year of tabla.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
Maybe we should just get Michelle out here in the room. You know.
I know, eh? Yes, he says it was very cool. So there you go. I'm gonna cry on live YouTube right now. I'm being broken. He says it's hard to compose her with. Internet attack him for his bad pronunciation. Yeah, I can imagine it would be hard to compose with. Our producer Michelle, he's an audio technician, and one of the first things we worked on was actually a Middle Eastern concert that was going on that I was helping him film, and he had to mic all the instruments and that. It was the first time I had actually experienced that type of music in a live setting. It was very, very cool.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it gets funky after a little while. But no, yeah, Middle Eastern instruments are kind of interesting world that it's a hit and miss. It's a very much of a hit and miss. But once you start exploring them, it gets really really interesting. I mean, for 1979, even actually on The Girl in the Photograph with Wes Craven, I actually utilized a lot of the instruments, but not in their traditional ways. More or less, just kind of utilize their sounds and manipulate them in a way to get some really cool tonalities into it.
Now, in 1979, that was the revolution in Iran was actually a theological revolution, and that's when the Shah of Iran was ejected, or more or less, I think he had to flee for his life.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Just to get that little bit of background out there, because I can see Corey's looking at me, and he's like, "How the hell do you know that?"
It's funny because so there's if you actually played a video game, there's a lot of amazing authentic things in it. The creator of the video game is actually the guy that did Grand Theft Auto.
Oh, wow.
So he did. I mean, he went through archives and archives and archives of stuff. Even the graffitis on the walls are absolutely the same thing that was at the time. You could walk around and there's speeches that are happening, and those speeches are exactly the same thing that was happening at the time as well. So there's an educational thing to it, but it's also this extremely accurate thing, and that's why we all of a sudden got banned out of Iran to not be able to kind of utilize the video game and show the video game anywhere.
Wow. And this is on iOS?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. It's coming out on iOS. It's coming out on Thursday. It's already on Steam right now. But yeah.
So we've talked about the game, but what type of game is it?
If you've played like more or less the Telltale style of games, like kind of you go around and you actually, based on the questions and based on the answers there's a different scenario approach to it. You get dropped in Iran as a photographer, and then based on the decisions and based on the events that happen, you end up doing other things. So it's all about figuring out what your ideologies are by yourself, besides anybody else.
That's interesting. Yeah.
That's a new take on that kind of point and click adventure.
I mean, if you played
the way you were talking about the game, I pictured like a wartime shooter or something, and that's kind of nice that it's not.
Very. Yeah, it's kind of, if you will, it's a combination of like Grand Theft Auto meets Walking Dead style of like Telltale. If you've played that kind of video game, it's very similar to that.
Yeah, I've been playing that. It's actually one of my favorite types of games. I've been playing it for years and years, since Day of the Tentacle and Monkey Island. Honestly, I like some of those better than I like some of the Walking Dead games. There's more options.
Yeah, some of the early PC Star Trek games were a lot like that.
Yeah.
And it was like, you essentially, whatever you decide to choose, the game can go in so many different directions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, it's always my favorite type of game because it was the first type of game that told a story.
And it's awesome because like you actually get immersed in the characters in itself. I mean, especially nowadays with VR, it's like you could actually do anything you want to do. You could just get dropped into the middle of nowhere and find your way out, basically.
Yeah, the VR, it's going to change things, but of course we've been waiting for VR to change things since the early 90s.
Yeah.
They used to
of course.
set it up in shopping malls. Yeah.
I mean, there's videos. It's so interesting. I don't know if you guys have seen it. There's videos of all of a sudden people just in crowds of rooms, just with VR glasses, and it's just something out of the just Steven Spielberg film. All of a sudden,
it's almost Twilight Zone-ish.
Yeah.
Instead of everybody looking down like this, it's going to be people with just goggles on the bus. They're literally in their own world.
Yeah, see, no, that's not the virtual reality I want.
No.
I want the Star Trek version of the holodeck. You know, it's a thing you walk into.
I can agree with that.
As someone with
Yep.
failing eyesight, it's like, sorry, sticking something on my head. It's like I can't see things close.
He's old.
Yeah.
Well, anything else you're working on right now that you care to promote?
Well, no, I'm actually I am working on a bunch of stuff. I'm actually been building a lot of instruments. I'm actually building a kind of more or less an orchestral version of my build of instruments. I'm working on a project that I can't technically talk about, but that's what I've been kind of messing around with, just building and building and building instruments.
Nice.
And that's what I've been kind of doing the past
You don't
month.
have any of the instruments right there, do you?
They're downstairs. I don't.
Yeah.
I specifically told your promotion. I wanted to see the instruments this time.
I could walk you guys around if you guys wanted to, but I'm on a laptop, so
Do it.
so we could technically. I mean, I could just show it to you probably from up here. Let me actually kind of just move the laptop around. Maybe. Oh, you could kind of see where the downstairs. Yeah. So let me see if you could. Yeah, there you go. So that's the scoring stage, and that's the Ice Queen right there. That right next to that broken piano, if you will.
Okay.
Nice.
So a little bit next to that, I don't know if I could take it all the way over there, but there's one instrument right next to that that's being kind of messed around with right now. But yeah, that's basically kind of the scoring stage, and many of the instruments that are downstairs right now that's being messed around with.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, you'll have to send us some photos of
For sure.
some more of these instruments. I know we got a couple of the photos last time, and they're actually too big for our website when I posted them up. So I'm gonna retool some of that too.
Yeah.
No, for sure. I'll make sure that Beth kind of gets you guys those. No problem.
Fantastic. Well, let people know where they can find you online.
For sure, yeah. I'm on Twitter with I don't know what they're called now. Handles of at Ostad Ostad Nima, and I'm on Facebook just with my name, pretty much everywhere. So people can find me.
Fantastic. And so everybody should go download 1979.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds like a really
Yeah.
cool game experience.
Yeah, it's an awesome. I mean, it's an awesome game. I mean, also, it's. I mean, again, it's been a very busy year for me. I mean, The Girl in the Photograph was an honor to work with Wes Craven, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening, and there's a lot of stuff that I'm going to be around for. So we'll see what the year holds.
Mm-hmm. Well, geez, we should talk about that. I mean, you worked with Wes Craven right at the end of his life.
Yeah, I mean, that was an awesome kind of awesome adventure. Wes, I mean, when I basically kind of when I started being involved in the project and knowing that Wes was involved, it was one of those things, one of those dreams come true. Knowing all the films that he's worked on and knowing like kind of the caliber of filmmaking that he is, it's just it was awesome. It was absolutely awesome to be involved with him. I don't know what to tell you about it. It's just,
Yeah.
for me, it was breathtaking to be able to do something with him, especially on his last film. And, just the fact that he's a father of a lot of different things. So, I mean, I don't know.
Did you actually get to meet him while you worked on the film? Or?
I didn't actually get to meet him because when they started shooting, actually they were in Vancouver for a while, and I was in Los Angeles, so they were going back and forth most of the times, and then the mix was actually happening in Vancouver. When I flew into Vancouver, he was in Los Angeles, so it was a lot of back and forth, and our schedule was kind of a crazy schedule once we got into Toronto Film Festival. Just like the Signal, all of a sudden our schedule shifted significantly. So it was. I didn't get to meet him, but he had a lot of inputs on the score, and he had a lot of inputs on a lot of different things. So he was very much involved in the entire project.
Wow. Well, it's a shame you didn't get to meet him, but
Yeah.
being on a composer on his very last film. That's a hell of an honor.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
mean, it was awesome to be able to work with him, directly or indirectly, however you want to think of it. Knowing that he basically heard what I created as a more or less in his world as a rookie kind of thing. Knowing that he's worked with Beltrami, all of those masters, and Carpenter, and all those kind of things. So it was an honor to be able to work with him.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for coming back on. And,
Of course.
If we do this again, I will not pick the same day that E3 is doing all of their announcements,
Yeah.
so that people will actually be in the chat room.
No problem. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can also go check out our Facebook page, people. We since we started doing live, we forget to promote ourselves.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to this on the podcast, go subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/creditspodcast, and there we'll do our live streams. So subscribe so you find out when we're doing those. And there's already a few videos up there, and some of our live shows that we've done at different Comic-Cons and
Yeah.
other events, and the Ron Husband live show that we did at Algonquin Commons Theater. Also go to our Facebook page and like that, facebook.com/creditspodcast, and follow us on Twitter. I'm at C. Tibbets.
I'm at slam_tango.
And that's it for this week in End Credits. Until next week,
Roll end credits.
We'll get this right eventually.